Welcome to the Garden of Thousand Sounds, where ancient whispers meet modern hearts. Let these sacred stories guide you toward inner peace and restorative rest. The Silent Bell. Brother Marcus had served at the monastery for 23 years. Every morning at dawn, he rang the great bronze bell that called the community to prayer. The sound echoed across the valley, awakening farmers, shepherds, and travelers alike. Ring it with purpose, his master had taught him. Each toll carries the prayers of generations. Marcus took pride in his duty. His technique was flawless, his timing precise. The bell's voice under his guidance was said to be the most beautiful in all the region. Then came the morning, when everything changed. Marcus climbed the tower stairs as usual. He gripped the rope. He pulled with practiced strength. Nothing. The bell remained silent. Strange, he muttered, examining the mechanism. Everything appeared normal. He tried again. Silence. Marcus called Brother Thomas, the monastery's craftsman. "The bell is perfectly fine," Thomas declared after his inspection. "Try again." Marcus pulled. Silence. "Perhaps you've lost your touch," Thomas suggested with a grin. Marcus frowned. "Let me see you ring it then." Thomas grabbed the rope confidently. He pulled with all his might. Nothing. "Impossible," Thomas whispered. Word spread quickly. Brothers gathered in the tower. Each took turns with the rope. The youngest, the strongest, the most experienced, all met with the same mysterious silence. "We must call Master Chen," someone suggested. Master Chen arrived from his meditation cave high in the mountains. He was ancient, his beard white as snow, his eyes holding depths that seemed to contain centuries of wisdom. "Show me," he said simply. Brother Marcus demonstrated his technique. The rope moved. The bell swayed slightly, but no sound emerged. Master Chen nodded slowly. "I see." "What do you see, Master?" Marcus asked desperately. "How can we fix this?" "Tell me, Marcus, why do you ring the bell?" "To call the community to prayer, of course." "And why do they need to be called?" Marcus hesitated. Because it's time for prayer." "Do they not know when it's time?" "Well, yes, but the bell reminds them." "Reminds them of what?" Marcus felt confused. "That it's time to pray." Master Chen smiled gently. "Marcus, walk with me to the village." They descended the mountain path together. As they approached the village square, Marcus noticed something remarkable. People were gathering. Farmers set down their tools. Merchants closed their stalls. Children stopped their games. "Look at the time," Marcus said, checking his pocket watch. "It's exactly the hour of morning prayer." "Yes," Master Chen replied. "And what do you observe?" Marcus watched in amazement. The villagers were walking toward the monastery. Some carried prayer beads. Others walked in contemplative silence. All moved with purpose and reverence. "They're coming to prayer," Marcus said. But how did they know the bell never rang? "Perhaps," Master Chen suggested, "they heard something else." "What else?" "Listen." Marcus stood still. He closed his eyes and listened carefully. At first, he heard only ordinary sounds, wind through leaves, distant water flowing, birds singing. Then, gradually, he began to perceive something deeper. There was a rhythm, a pulse. It came from everywhere and nowhere. It was the sound of hearts beating in unison, the sound of breath moving in harmony, the sound of souls calling to souls. "I hear it," Marcus whispered. "The bell has been ringing all along," Master Chen said. "Not the bronze one in the tower, but the bell that exists in every heart. The external bell was simply helping people remember to listen to the one within. But why did it stop working? Because it was time for the community to discover what they already knew. They returned to the monastery. The chapel was full. Brothers and villagers sat together in perfect silence, yet Marcus could hear the invisible bell ringing clearer than ever. "Will the bronze bell ever ring again?" Marcus asked. Master Chen placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "That depends. When you ring a bell, are you making sound, or are you releasing the sound that was always there?" Marcus pondered this question for days. He continued his daily climbs to the tower, not to ring the silent bell, but to sit beside it in meditation. On the seventh day, as he sat in deep contemplation, Marcus felt a profound shift. He understood that the bell's voice had never been his creation. He had simply been the instrument through which its eternal song could manifest. He stood and approached the rope with new understanding. Instead of trying to make the bell ring, he listened for the sound that was already present. He felt for the vibration that existed beyond the physical realm. When he pulled the rope this time, the most beautiful tone emerged. It was the same bronze bell, yet somehow its voice had transformed. The sound carried not just across the valley, but into dimensions of existence Marcus had never imagined. From that day forward, the bell rang differently. Those who heard it said it seemed to echo from within their own hearts. Children claimed they could hear it in their dreams. Travelers reported that its song followed them for miles, bringing peace to their journeys. Marcus learned that silence and sound were not opposites, but different expressions of the same truth. The silent bell had taught him that the most profound music comes not from striking metal, but from touching the eternal harmony that connects all beings. Years later, when asked about the miracle of the silent bell, Marcus would simply smile and say, "Every heart contains a bell that never stops ringing. Sometimes we just need to remember how to listen." The bronze bell still hangs in the tower, ringing each dawn as it has for generations. But those who truly listen know that its voice is merely an echo of the infinite bell that rings always in the silence of the awakened heart. The gardeners echoed. Old Henrik had tended the monastery garden for 40 years. His hands knew every plant, every season, every secret the soil whispered. But today something felt different. "Master Chen," Henrik called as the wise teacher passed by. "I need to ask you something. Speak freely, my friend. I've been hearing sounds in the garden, music that has no source." Master Chen paused. "Tell me more." "When I plant seeds, I hear melodies. When I water the shoots, harmonies emerge. Yesterday, while weeding near the rose bushes, I swear I heard singing. And this troubles you." Henrik frowned. "I'm losing my mind, aren't I? Walk with me through your garden." They moved along the stone pathways Henrik had laid himself decades ago. The garden was immaculate. Vegetables grew in perfect rows. Flowers bloomed in careful arrangements. Everything had its place. "Show me where you heard the music." Henrik led Master Chen to a section where he'd recently planted tomato seedlings. "Here, when I placed each plant in the ground, I heard, I can't describe it, like a lullaby. Plant one now. Now." "Yes." Henrik knelt and prepared a small hole. He removed a seedling from its container, gently separated the roots, and placed it in the earth. As he covered it with soil, a soft, barely audible hum seemed to rise from the ground. Master Chen smiled. "I hear it too." "You do? Henrik, tell me why you became a gardener." "My mother died when I was 7. My father drank. The only peace I found was in our small backyard growing things. Plants never yelled, they never hit, they just grew when you cared for them." "And how did you care for them?" "I talked to them, sang to them, actually. Old songs my mother used to sing." "Ah, they walked to the herb section. Henrik touched a basil plant tenderly. I know it sounds foolish, but I always believed they could hear me. Continue. When I joined the monastery, Brother Francis thought I was strange, talking to vegetables, humming while I worked, but the garden flourished like never before. And now Henrik looked puzzled. Now I don't sing anymore. Haven't for years. I became too serious, I suppose, too focused on efficiency and results. Master Chen nodded. Show me your favorite spot. Henrik led him to a small corner where wildflowers grew freely. Unlike the rest of the garden, this area seemed to have its own chaotic beauty. I don't tend this section much, Henrik admitted. It just grows wild. Listen carefully here. They stood in silence. The wildflowers swayed gently, and there it was, a complex symphony of sounds. Not audible to the ears exactly, but felt somehow in the chest, in the bones. The plants remember, Master Chen said quietly. Remember what? Your songs, your love, every lullaby you ever hummed while working. They absorbed not just your care, but your music. Henrik stared at the flowers. That's impossible. Is it you sang to them for decades? You poured your heart into this soil. Why should they not sing back? But I stopped singing years ago. Did you? Or did you simply stop listening? Master Chen picked up a small watering can. May I? Henrik nodded. Master Chen watered a section of marigolds. As the water touched the soil, a gentle melody emerged, faint but unmistakable. Every drop of water carries the echo of your devotion, Master Chen explained. Every seed you planted holds the memory of your songs. The garden has become a living symphony of all the love you've given it. Henrik felt tears forming. I thought I'd lost something important. You lost nothing. You simply forgot to listen. The music never stopped. You stopped hearing it. But why can I hear it now? Because your heart is ready to remember. Tell me, Henrik, what changed recently? Henrik thought carefully. Brother Marcus mentioned you taught him about listening, said there's music everywhere if we know how to hear it. I suppose I started paying attention differently, and I realized I missed singing, missed the joy I used to feel working here. Master Chen smiled. The garden missed it too. They spent the next hour walking through different sections. At each spot, Henrik shared a memory, which songs he used to sing there, what he was feeling when he planted certain flowers, the hopes he held for each season's growth. Here, Henrik said, stopping near a large oak tree. I planted this the day after Brother Thomas died. I was so sad. I sang every hymn I could remember while digging the hole. As if responding to his words, the oak's leaves rustled in a rhythm that matched a funeral dirge, then shifted to something lighter, more hopeful. It remembers, Henrik whispered. Everything remembers. Your joy, your sorrow, your hope. Plants don't just grow in soil. They grow in emotion. They absorb whatever energy we bring to them. So the music I'm hearing is your own love reflected back to you. You gave songs to the garden for decades. Now the garden gives them back when you need them most. Henrik knelt and placed his hands on the earth. The humming grew stronger, more complex. It was every lullaby his mother sang, every work song he'd hummed while planting, every prayer he'd whispered over struggling seedlings. What should I do with this gift? Henrik asked. What feels right? Henrik stood and brushed dirt from his knees. Without thinking, he began to hum, an old song his mother used to sing about seeds growing toward sunlight. The garden seemed to hum along harmony, weaving through the air like invisible ribbons. That's beautiful, Master Chen said. I'd forgotten how good it feels to sing while working. The plants never forgot how good it sounds. From that day forward, Henrik returned to his old ways. He sang while planting, hummed while weeding, whistled while watering. But now he also listened, really listened, to the garden's responses. Other brothers began to notice changes. Plants grew larger, bloomed longer, seemed somehow more vibrant. Visitors often commented on the peaceful feeling in the garden, though they couldn't explain why. "It's Henrik's music," Brother Marcus told a curious guest one day. "He sings to the plants and they sing back. You can't hear it with your ears, but your heart knows it's there." Henrik overheard this and smiled. He understood now that gardening was never just about growing plants. It was about growing relationship between human and earth, between voice and silence, between giving and receiving. The echo he heard in his garden was the sound of love multiplied, returned and multiplied again in an endless cycle of care and gratitude. Every garden is a conversation, he would tell young novices who came to learn from him. You speak to the plants through your actions, your attention, your songs, and if you listen carefully, you'll hear them singing back to you the music of life itself. The garden continued to flourish, but more importantly, Henrik's heart had found its song again. And in that finding, he discovered that the most beautiful music comes not from performance, but from the simple act of loving something so completely that it cannot help but love you back. The weeping willow's gift. Brother Leo carried his grief like a stone. It had been 6 months since his sister passed, but the weight in his chest remained. Prayer felt like speaking to an empty room. Work was a distraction that never lasted. The kindness of his brothers was a language he no longer understood. "Your heart is closed," Master Chen said to him one morning. "It is broken," Leo corrected him. "A closed door can be opened. A broken vase is still made of clay. Go to the weeping willow by the river. Sit with it until you have an answer." "An answer to what?" Leo asked, his voice flat. "To the question your heart is asking." Leo went. The weeping willow was ancient, its trunk gnarled and its branches sweeping the ground like a green curtain. He sat beneath its shade, the stone in his chest pressing down. He expected nothing. For 3 days, he did just that. He sat. He watched the river flow. He felt anger rise and fall within him. He was angry at the willow for its passive sorrow, angry at the river for its constant movement, angry at Master Chen for sending him on a pointless task. The tree did nothing. It simply was. On the 4th day, his anger dissolved into a profound, hollow sadness. Memories of his sister came unbidden. Her laugh, the way she tied her hair, the last words they spoke. He didn't fight the memories. He let them wash over him, each one a fresh wave of pain. He looked at the willow's drooping branches and, for the first time, felt a flicker of connection. "You understand," he whispered to the tree. "You look how I feel." The 7th day brought a change in the weather. Dark clouds gathered. The air grew heavy. Leo remained under the tree, watching the sky. When the storm broke, it was with a terrifying violence. Wind tore through the valley. Rain fell in sheets. Leo pressed himself against the willow's trunk, finding shelter under its dense foliage. He watched the tree endure the onslaught. The wind whipped its long, slender branches, thrashing them back and forth. Leo winced, expecting them to snap, but they didn't. They bent, they yielded, they danced with the storm's fury, moving with it instead of resisting. He saw his own struggle in the tree's ordeal. He had been trying to stand rigid against his grief, and it was breaking him. The willow showed him another way to yield, to bend, to move with the pain. The storm passed as suddenly as it had arrived. The sun emerged, casting a brilliant light on the rain-washed world. Leo noticed something strange. Though the rain had stopped, drops of water continued to fall from the willow's leaves. They glistened in the sunlight like 1,000 tiny diamonds. They looked like tears. He stood and reached out, touching a leaf. A single cool drop fell onto the back of his hand. In that instant, something shifted within him. He felt the drop not as water, but as an emotion. It was an immense, overwhelming wave of sorrow. But it wasn't just his own. He felt the echo of other griefs, other losses, other pains that the tree had witnessed over centuries. He felt the loneliness of travelers who had rested here, the heartbreak of lovers who had parted, the quiet desperation of souls who had sought solace in its shade. He understood. The willow was not weeping from its own sadness. It was weeping for the world. Its drooping branches were not a sign of weakness but an embrace. It absorbed the sorrow of all who came to it, holding the pain without judgment. And in holding it, the tree transformed it. The tears that fell from its leaves were not tears of despair, but tears of release. They watered the earth, nourishing the soil, allowing new life to grow at its base. The stone in Leo's chest finally shattered. He leaned his forehead against the rough bark of the trunk and wept. He wept for his sister. He wept for himself. But now he also wept for the travelers, the lovers, the lonely souls. He wept for the world. His personal isolating grief poured out of him, merging with the universal sorrow held by the tree. The willow accepted it all, its silent presence, a profound comfort. After a long time, his tears subsided. He felt empty, but it was a clean, peaceful emptiness. The crushing weight was gone. He looked down at the base of the tree and saw tiny green shoots pushing up through the damp earth nourished by the willow's gift. He walked back to the monastery. The world seemed different, the colors more vivid, the sounds clearer. Brother Henrik, working in the garden, looked up as he approached. "You look lighter," Henrik said. Leo smiled, a true smile that reached his eyes. "I feel lighter." Later, he found Master Chen meditating by the koi pond. Leo sat beside him in silence for a while before speaking. "The tree gave me its answer," Leo said. "And what was it?" "Sorrow is not an enemy to be fought," Leo explained. "It's a guest to be welcomed. It is a river that must be allowed to flow. The willow taught me that our hearts are not meant to be fortresses. They are meant to be gardens. When we hold sorrow with love, it becomes the water that makes compassion grow." Master Chen nodded slowly, a gentle smile on his face. "You have received its gift." From that day on, Brother Leo was a changed man. His grief for his sister remained, but it was no longer a stone. It was a soft, tender place in his heart, a place that connected him to others. When he saw another brother struggling, he didn't offer empty words of advice. He simply sat with them, offering his silent presence, holding their pain without trying to fix it. He had learned from the willow that the greatest act of compassion is not to stop the weeping, but to share in it, transforming personal pains into a universal love that waters the world. He had learned to turn his own tears into a gift for others. The night-blooming lotus, Sister Elara's smile, had been a fixture at the monastery, as reliable as the sunrise. She found joy in simple things, the warmth of fresh bread, the sound of rain on the roof, the camaraderie of shared work. But for the past few months, the smile had vanished. Her light had gone out. A letter had arrived from her village. It contained news that had fractured the foundation of her world. Now her prayers felt hollow, her work meaningless. A profound darkness had settled in her heart, and she could not find her way out. Master Chen observed her silent struggle. One evening, he found her sitting alone by the stone wall, staring into the twilight. "The sun has set, Elara," he said gently. "It has, Master, and I fear it will not rise again for me." He did not offer words of comfort. Instead, he held out his hand. In his palm lay a single dark seed, no larger than a pebble. "This is the seed of the night lotus," he said. "It is said to bloom only in the deepest hour of the night and only for a moment. It has not been seen in this valley for 100 years. He placed the seed in her hand. "Your task is to see it bloom." Elara looked at the seed, then at the master. "How, where?" "There is a secluded pond behind the old library. It receives no moonlight. It is a place of perfect darkness. Plant it there, then you must watch and wait." A flicker of purpose sparked within her. A task, a goal. Perhaps this was the answer. She found the pond. It was, as the master had said, shielded by high rock walls. The water was still and black. She planted the seed in the mud at the pond's edge, whispering a prayer that felt foreign on her lips. Then she began her vigil. The first week was filled with anticipation. Every night she would slip away after evening prayers and sit by the pond. She would watch the dark water, her eyes straining, her heart pounding with a fragile hope. Nothing happened. The second week, hope began to curdle into frustration. She tended to the pond with anxious energy, clearing away fallen leaves, ensuring the water level was just right. She talked to the seed, pleading with it, commanding it to grow. The pond remained a black, silent mirror. By the fourth week, frustration had given way to a deep, familiar despair. The darkness of the pond was no longer just outside of her. It was within her. The long, silent hours of the night became a crucible for her doubts. Her faith, once so simple and strong, now seemed like a childish fantasy. The universe felt cold, empty, and indifferent. The seed was a lie, a false promise in a meaningless world. She spoke to Brother Leo one afternoon. He told her about the weeping willow and how it taught him to hold sorrow with love. "But I have no love left to give," Elara confessed. "My heart is a desert." She spoke to Brother Henrik. He told her his plants responded to his songs, to the joy he brought to his work. "My songs have died," she told him. "There is no joy." The nights grew longer. The darkness became her only companion. It whispered to her of failure, of loneliness, of the futility of her vigil. She was a fool sitting by a patch of black water, waiting for a flower that would never bloom. Finally, after 2 months, she could bear it no longer. She went to Master Chen's chambers, her spirit utterly broken. "Master," she said, her voice a hollow whisper, "I have failed. The seed will not grow. The legend is a lie. There is no light to be found in the darkness. There is only more darkness." Master Chen was silent for a long moment, his gaze steady. He did not look at her with pity. "Tell me, Elara," he said calmly, "what is darkness?" "It is the absence of light," she answered automatically. "Is it, or is it the womb from which a different kind of light is born?" He poured 2 cups of tea. "You have been searching for the sun in the middle of the night. You have been demanding that the darkness behave like the day. The lotus is not waiting for a light that comes from outside. It is waiting for you to stop looking for one." Elara stared at him, uncomprehending. "What should I do?" "Stop doing. Stop waiting. Stop demanding. Go back to the pond. But do not go as a gardener waiting for a bloom. Go as a friend visiting the night. Sit with your darkness. Do not fight it. Do not try to change it. Simply be with it. Listen to what it has to say. His words made no sense, yet they touched something deep within her. Defeated and with nothing left to lose, she decided to follow his strange instruction. That night, she returned to the pond, but this time she brought no hope. She brought no expectation. She sat on the cold stone and closed her eyes. She did not watch the water. She let the darkness of the night envelop her, and for the first time she did not resist. She allowed her feelings to surface without judgment. The grief, the anger, the profound sense of abandonment, the doubt that gnawed at the edges of her soul. She let them all be. She breathed them in and breathed them out. She stopped naming them, analyzing them, fighting them. They were simply there, like the rocks, like the still water, like the silent air. A strange thing happened. As she stopped struggling, a quiet peace began to settle over her. The turmoil in her heart did not vanish, but it grew still. The darkness was no longer a terrifying void, but a quiet, immense presence. It was a blanket, not a cage. She did this for several nights. She sat, she breathed, she listened to the silence. She became a part of the night itself. Then one night, as she sat in this state of deep, accepting stillness, she felt it. It was not a sound or a sight. It was a subtle shift in the energy of the pond, a vibration that resonated deep within her own quieted heart. She did not open her eyes. She did not need to. She knew. On the surface of the black water, a single lotus was unfurling its petals. It happened in absolute silence with a grace that seemed to bend time. It did not glow with a borrowed light. It did not reflect the stars, for there were none to see. Instead, it possessed its own luminescence, a soft internal radiance that seemed to be woven from the very fabric of the darkness itself. It was a light that did not banish the dark, but was born from it, complemented. It made it beautiful. It was the most profound beauty Alara had ever witnessed, and she saw it all with her heart. In that moment, she understood everything. The flower did not bloom despite the darkness. It bloomed because of it. The absence of external light was the necessary condition for its own unique inner light to manifest. Her own spiritual crisis, her dark night of the soul, was not a sign that her faith had failed. It was the fertile ground from which a deeper, more resilient, more authentic faith could be born. The light she had been so desperately seeking was never going to come from outside. It had to be cultivated within her own darkness, nurtured by her own acceptance. The flower remained for what felt like an eternity and a single moment. Then, as silently as it appeared, it closed its petals and slipped back beneath the water, leaving no trace. But its image was burned into her soul. Alara walked back through the sleeping monastery. The world was the same, but she was new. The next morning, Master Chen was waiting for her by the gate. He did not need to ask. He could see it in her eyes. It was beautiful, wasn't it? He said. Yes, Master, she replied. Her voice was quiet but steady and clear. But the true gift was not the flower. Oh, it was the darkness, she said. I learned that it is not an enemy to be vanquished. It is a teacher. It is the sacred space where our own light learns to shine. Her smile had returned, but it was different now. It was not the bright, easy smile of a girl who had never known sorrow. It was the serene, knowing smile of a woman who had walked through the deepest night and discovered the lotus blooming in her own heart. The butterfly's last dance. The village of Oak Haven was not unhappy. It was simply asleep. People woke, worked, ate, and slept. Their movements were efficient. Their conversations were practical. The baker baked bread. The blacksmith forged tools. The seamstress mended clothes. Everything functioned perfectly, but no one's heart was in it. Joy was a forgotten language. In a field at the edge of the village, an old butterfly stirred. Its wings, once vibrant, were now faded and torn. It knew its time was short. The sun was rising, and it would not live to see it set again. Most creatures in its state would find a quiet place to rest, to let life fade. This butterfly had a different intention. It had one last flight to make. A small boy named Finn was the only person in Oakhaven who still looked at the world with open eyes. He saw the old butterfly struggling to lift off from a blade of grass. He watched, curious. The butterfly finally took to the air. Its flight was not strong or graceful. It was a slow, deliberate wobble. It did not fly away from the village, but toward it. It began to dance. It moved up, then down, then in a slow curve, tracing a pattern in the air that only it understood. Finn followed his bare feet, silent on the path. The butterfly's strange dance led him to the open door of the bakery. "Out, out, go away, boy," grumbled the baker, a man named Elias. "And take that bug with you." He waved a flowery hand. But the butterfly did not leave. It fluttered persistently near the window, its dance continuing. Elias, annoyed, stopped kneading his dough to shoo it away. As he watched, however, his annoyance faded. The pattern of the flight was peculiar. It wasn't random. It reminded him of something. The way his mother used to stir honey into his tea when he was a child. A warmth he hadn't felt in 30 years flickered in his chest. He wiped his hands on his apron and without a word stepped out of his bakery to follow the boy who was following the butterfly. The small procession moved on. The butterfly danced its way toward the seamstress's shop. A woman named Lena sat inside, stitching a patch onto a grey tunic. She looked up and saw Finn followed by Elias the baker, both staring intently at a tiny fluttering thing in the air. It was the most interesting thing she had seen all month. She put down her needle. She watched the butterfly's dance. The loops and swirls it made were not like the flight of any insect she had ever seen. They were like stitches. They reminded her of a vibrant, colorful design she had dreamed of embroidering as a young girl, a dream she had long since packed away with other childish things. A needle of longing pierced her own heart. She left her grey tunic on the table and walked out to join the baker and the boy. The group grew. They passed the blacksmith's forge. Kyle, a man whose arms were as strong as his spirit was tired, heard the soft footsteps and looked up from his anvil. He saw the child, the baker, and the seamstress walking with a strange shared focus. He laid down his hammer, his curiosity stronger than his duty. He watched the butterfly, its wavering flight path dipping and rising reminded him of the way a spark flies up from the forge, a moment of unpredictable beauty. He banked his fire and followed. The blacksmith was followed by the scholar by the farmer by the woodcutter. Each was drawn first by the strange sight of their neighbors walking in a silent parade, and then became captivated by the dance of the butterfly itself. For each person, the dance sparked a personal memory, a forgotten feeling. The scholar remembered the curve of a beautiful letter in an ancient text. The farmer remembered the path a winding stream took through his family's first field. Soon, a large portion of the village had gathered in the central square. They were no longer separate individuals going about their tasks. They were a community, their attention united on the smallest, most fragile creature among them. The butterfly, with a final heroic effort, completed the last arc of its dance. It had traced a vast, invisible shape over the heads of the assembled people. Utterly spent, it fluttered down, Finn, seeing its descent, held out his hand. The butterfly landed gently in his palm. Its wings beat once, twice, and then were still. A silence fell over the square. It was a silence unlike the empty quiet that usually filled Oakhaven. This was a living silence full of shared feeling. In that moment of collective stillness, they understood. The butterfly had not been struggling for its own life. It had been spending its life. It used its final energy, its last moments of existence, to create something for them. The dance was not a random flight. It was a gift. The invisible shape it had drawn in the air was a message, one they all felt in their hearts without needing words. It was a message of connection, of beauty, given for its own sake. The spell of sleep was broken. The villagers looked at each other. They did not see a baker, a seamstress, a blacksmith. They saw Elias, Lena, Kyle. The baker, Elias, walked over to Lena and offered her the warm loaf of bread he was still carrying. The scholar began to quietly recite a poem about the changing seasons. The blacksmith started to hum a tune his grandfather had taught him, a sound no one had heard from him in years. From the monastery on the hill, Master Chen watched the scene with Brother Leo. How can something so small create such a large change? Leo asked in wonder. Because its act was pure. Master Chen replied. The butterfly did not seek praise or reward. It did not try to prolong its own life. It gave away the only thing it had, its final dance. Beauty is not measured by its size or how long it lasts. It is measured by the love with which it is given. The butterfly's small life ended, but its last dance woke the heart of the village, and that awakening will last for a very long time. The empty teacup's wisdom. Julian was not a man who understood emptiness. As the most celebrated architect of his generation, his entire life was dedicated to filling space. He filled skylines with towers of glass and steel. He filled landscapes with sprawling estates. He filled his shelves with awards. His mind was always full of calculations, full of ambition, full of the weight of his own reputation. But for the past year, one space had defeated him, the plot of land destined for his masterpiece, the Sunstone Pavilion. He had produced hundreds of sketches, thousands of pages of notes. His studio was full of models and blueprints. Yet, the project remained inert. The more he tried to force a solution, the more elusive it became. His mind, once a fountain of creativity, felt like a clogged drain. In desperation, he had heard whispers of a wise man in a remote mountain monastery, a Master Chen who held unconventional wisdom. Julian, a man of logic and concrete, dismissed it as folklore. But after another sleepless month, he packed a single bag and his roll of blueprints and began the long journey. He was not seeking enlightenment. He was seeking a solution. He would treat this Master Chen as a consultant, extract the necessary data, and leave. He arrived at the monastery expecting esoteric grandeur. He found simple stone buildings and monks quietly sweeping leaves. He was told Master Chen would see him in 3 days. 3 days, Julian said to the young monk who greeted him. I am a very busy man. My time is valuable. The monk simply bowed. The leaves fall at their own pace. The master is available when he is available. For 3 days, Julian fumed. He watched the monks perform their simple, repetitive tasks. He saw inefficiency everywhere. He saw wasted potential. He saw emptiness, and he despised it. Finally, he was led to a small, bare room. Master Chen sat on a simple cushion. He was an old man, but his eyes were clear and direct. Julian felt an immediate need to establish his own importance. Master Chen. He began unrolling his heavy blueprints across the floor. I am Julian, I design buildings. This," he pointed to the intricate drawings, "is to be my legacy, the Sunstone Pavilion. But I am blocked. I require a new perspective, a key to unlock the design." Master Chen looked not at the blueprints, but at Julian. "You are tired," he said. It was a statement, not a question. "I am driven," Julian corrected him. "It is the same path," the master said softly. "Will you take tea with me?" Julian agreed, impatient. A ceremony began. Master Chen moved with a slow, deliberate grace. He heated the water. He warmed the tiny handleless cups. He prepared the pot. Every movement was precise and full of intention. Julian watched, drumming his fingers, his mind already back on angles and load-bearing walls. Master Chen picked up the teapot. He held it over Julian's cup. He tilted it, his hand steady. Julian leaned forward, anticipating the fragrance, the warmth. Nothing came out. The teapot was empty. Yet Master Chen continued the motion of pouring, his focus absolute. He then placed the empty pot down and gestured to Julian's empty cup. "Please," the master said, "drink." A surge of anger, hot and sharp, shot through Julian. This was a joke, a mockery. He had traveled for a week, waited for 3 days, bared the soul of his life's work, all for this senile old man to play games with him. "There is nothing in the cup," Julian said, his voice tight with suppressed rage. "Indeed," Master Chen replied, his expression unchanging. "You are wasting my time," Julian snapped, beginning to roll up his blueprints. "I came here for answers, for something to add to my knowledge. You have given me nothing." "You came to me full," Master Chen said quietly. "Your mind is full of plans and frustrations. Your heart is full of ambition and fear. Your hands are full of old drawings. If I had poured tea, where would it have gone? How can you fill a cup that is already full?" The words struck Julian with physical force. He stopped what he was doing. He stared at the empty cup, full. He had always seen fullness as a virtue, but now, for the first time, he saw it as a prison. He left the room without another word, leaving his blueprints on the floor. He walked out into the monastery, grounds his mind, a storm of Master Chen's words. How can you fill a cup that is already full? He walked for hours. He saw a gardener, Brother Henrik, tending his plants. He noticed that the gardener spent as much time ensuring there was space between the seedlings as he did planting them. Without that empty space, they would choke each other out. He sat by the great bell tower as dusk fell. He remembered the story of the silent bell. He did not hear it ring, but he felt the immense, profound silence that surrounded it. He realized the power of the bell was not in its sound, but in the silence it punctuated. He looked up at the night sky. Countless stars were scattered across the velvet blackness. But what made their light so brilliant was the vast, infinite emptiness of the space that held them. Without the emptiness, there would be no pattern, no beauty, only a blinding, meaningless glare. Everything he saw screamed the same truth. Space, silence, emptiness. These were not voids to be filled. They were the canvas. They were the context. They were the very possibility of creation itself. His problem was not that he lacked ideas for the Sunstone Pavilion. The problem was that his mind was so crammed with old ideas, with the pressure to succeed with the ego of Julian the great architect, that there was no room for a new true idea to be born. He had been trying to pour tea into a full cup. He walked back to Master Chen's room. The master was sitting just as he had left him. The blueprints were still on the floor. Julian walked past them. He knelt, picked up the empty teacup and held it in both hands. He looked at the master and gave a slight grateful nod. He understood. A small smile touched Master Chen's lips. He picked up a different teapot, one that was full and warm. He leaned forward and poured. Fragrant, steaming tea filled Julian's cup. "The cup is now ready to receive," Master Chen said. Julian raised the cup and drank. He had never tasted anything so completely. He left the monastery the next morning. He did not have a single new sketch for the Sunstone Pavilion. He didn't need one. As he walked down the mountain path, he passed a small fire where a monk was burning leaves. Without hesitating, Julian took the heavy roll of blueprints, his past, his frustrations, his ego, and placed it gently into the flames. He watched the work of a year turn to ash and felt nothing but relief. He walked away with empty hands and an empty mind, finally ready to create. The moon's reflection. Brother Alistair was a scholar. He had come to the monastery not in search of peace, but in search of truth, which he believed was a singular solid thing, like a diamond that could be held in the hand and examined from every angle. He had spent 20 years in Western universities debating philosophy, dissecting texts, and constructing arguments. He saw the world as a set of propositions, some true and some false. There was no room for ambiguity. The monastery, therefore, was a constant source of frustration for him. The teachings of Master Chen felt like smoke, beautiful perhaps, but impossible to grasp. The other brothers and sisters spoke in metaphors and feelings. Alistair found it all intellectually lazy. "Truth is not a feeling," he declared one afternoon during a discussion. "It is a fact. The sky is blue, water is wet. A thing cannot be both itself and something else." Master Chen, who had been listening silently, finally spoke. "Alistair, tonight, the moon will be full. Go to the pond after the evening meal. Sit there, and when you are certain of what you see, come and tell me." Alistair agreed. This, at last, was a task with a clear, objective outcome. That night, he went to the pond. The air was still. The surface of the water was like polished black glass, and in its center was a perfect, brilliant circle of white light, the reflection of the moon. He sat for an hour, confirming his observation. It was simple. The moon, a celestial body, was in the sky. The pond, a body of water, was on the ground. The light from the moon was reflecting off the surface of the water, creating an image. It was a matter of physics. Satisfied, he stood to leave. Just then, the young boy, Finn, who often played near the monastery, came and sat beside him. "What are you looking at, Brother Alistair?" Finn whispered, his eyes wide with wonder. "I am looking at the moon's reflection," Alistair said, his tone that of a teacher. Finn looked at the pond, then back at Alistair, a smile spreading across his face. "It's not a reflection," he said confidently. "It's a silver coin that a giant dropped for me to find tomorrow." Alistair almost laughed. "That's a nice story, Finn, but it's not the truth. It's an optical phenomenon." "It's a coin," Finn insisted, his belief absolute. Before Alistair could correct him further, Brother Henrik, the gardener, arrived carrying an empty watering can. He stood beside them, looking down at the water. "Ah, beautiful," Henrik sighed contentedly. "It is," Alistair agreed. "A perfect reflection of the moon." Henrik shook his head gently. "No, brother. It is the pond's dream of the sun. It is a seed of light planted in the darkness, waiting for morning to sprout. Alistair stared at him. "Brother Henrik, with all due respect, that is poetic nonsense. It is light from the moon hitting the water. It is science. It is not a seed of light." "Everything is a seed to a gardener," Henrik replied calmly, and he continued on his way. Alistair was beginning to feel annoyed. This was exactly the kind of fuzzy thinking he despised. The truth was being obscured by sentiment and metaphor. Then Sister Elara approached. Her steps were silent, her presence peaceful. She had her own profound understanding of darkness and light. Alistair Finn, she said, her voice soft. She looked into the pond. A serene smile touched her lips. Sister Elara, Alistair said, a sharp edge to his voice. Tell me what you see. Objectively, she gazed at the reflection for a long moment before answering. I see proof, she said. Proof that even in the deepest black, a light can be held. It is the memory of the night lotus, a light that does not fight the darkness, but is born from it. This was the final straw for Alistair. He stood up abruptly. No, he said, his voice loud in the stillness. You are all wrong. You are projecting your own feelings, your own professions, your own histories onto a simple physical fact. Finn sees a coin because he is a child. Henrik sees a seed because he is a gardener. Elara sees a metaphor for faith because she has wrestled with darkness. But these are all subjective falsehoods. He pointed a trembling finger at the pond. That is one thing. It is the reflection of the one moon that is in the sky. It is not a coin or a seed or a memory. It is light. It is truth, and I will prove it to you. In his frustration, he bent down, picked up a small flat stone, and skipped it across the surface of the pond. The stone danced across the water. The perfect, single reflection shattered. For a breathtaking moment, there were not one, not four, but 1,000 moons. 1,000 shimmering, dancing fragments of light scattered across the ripples. Every wave, every tiny disturbance held its own brief, brilliant moon. Finn gasped in delight. Look! The giant dropped his whole bag of coins. Henrik, who had turned back, smiled. So many seeds for a new day. Elara whispered, 1,000 promises kept. Alistair stood frozen, staring at the chaos of light he had created. He had intended to destroy the false images to reveal the one true one. Instead, he had created a multitude. Slowly, the ripples subsided. The fragments of light began to merge. The water grew still. And once again, there was a single, perfect circle of white light in the center of the pond. A calm voice came from the shadows behind them. Did you prove your point, Alistair? Master Chen stepped forward into the moonlight. Alistair was speechless. He felt a profound sense of shame. You were right, of course, Master Chen continued, his voice gentle. There is only one moon in the sky, and what we see in the pond is its reflection. Your facts were correct, but your understanding was incomplete. He gestured to the pond. The ultimate truth, the moon, is one, but the water is the consciousness that reflects it. Finn's consciousness is playful and full of wonder. Henrik's is full of life and growth. Elara's is deep and contemplative. Your own is sharp and analytical. The surface of the water is never the same for any two people. It is rippled by our experiences, our hopes, our sorrows. He looked at Alistair. Each person saw a true reflection. The reflection they were capable of seeing. The reflection their heart showed them. You became angry because their truth did not match your own. You tried to shatter their reflections, but you only proved that the same light can dance in 1,000 different ways. Alistair looked at the single moon in the pond. Then he looked at Finn, Henrik, and Elara. He saw not ignorance or falsehood, but different kinds of wisdom. Unity is not about everyone seeing the same reflection, Master Chen concluded. It is about everyone realizing they are all looking at the same moon. Brother Alistair, the scholar, finally understood. He had spent his life trying to possess the one true diamond of truth. He now saw that truth was more like water, a single element that could take on infinite shapes, holding the same light in a million different ways. He bowed his head, not in defeat, but in a newfound expansive humility. "I see," he said to the master, and for the first time the words felt completely true. The humble stone's journey. The stone had a name for itself, Summit Holder. It was not a name given by others, for nothing spoke to it. It was a name it felt in its own dense being. For longer than any season, it had existed in one place high on the mountain. It was a part of the mountain. Its purpose was clear: to be still, to endure the wind, to bear the weight of snow, to hold its small piece of the summit. Below, the world changed. Trees grew and fell. Animals were born and died. A river, a silver line of movement, carved the valley. The stone watched this river. It saw the river as a thing of weakness, always moving, always changing, never holding its ground. The stone's purpose was superior. It was permanence. One day, the sky grew dark. The wind no longer whispered. It screamed. Water fell not as rain, but as a solid force. The ground beneath the stone trembled. There was a great noise, a crack that was not thunder. The world tilted. Summit Holder was no longer holding the summit. It was falling. Then there was only movement. It landed in water. Not still water, but the fast, relentless water of the river it had watched from above. It was swept away. This was wrong. This was a violation of its purpose. It was a summit holder. It was not meant to move. The river was a chaos of other moving things. Other stones torn from their own places of stillness collided with it. Each collision was a shock, a sharp edge. An edge the stone had possessed for 1,000 years was struck. A piece of it broke away. "I am less," the stone thought. It was a new and terrifying idea. It tumbled. It scraped the bottom. It was thrown against the bank. Another piece chipped off. Another part of its history, its identity as a summit holder, was gone. It was becoming smooth. It was becoming like the others. A leaf, yellow and frail, floated past. It spun in a small whirlpool beside the stone for a moment. "What is your purpose?" The stone thought a question formed from its own confusion. "To travel." The leaf seemed to answer in its effortless dance. "The wind carries me now, the water carries me. My purpose is to go where I am taken." "My purpose was to stay," the stone insisted in its silent heart. The leaf was swept away. The stone tumbled on. Weeks, months, or years passed. The concept of time, once measured by the slow march of seasons across its fixed face, was now a blur of light and dark through rushing water. The stone no longer tried to fight the current. The struggle was useless. The river was stronger. It had learned that resistance only led to more violent collisions, more loss of self. It passed through a deep, slow pool. Here the movement was gentle. It settled on the bottom for a day or a lifetime. A fish, a creature of silver movement, hovered above it. "What is your purpose?" The stone asked its question, less of an accusation, now more of a genuine inquiry. "To seek," the fish replied, without words, its fins moving with intent. "To find food, to find shelter, to make more of myself. My purpose is in my own movement." The stone considered this. It had no intent. It did not seek. It was only taken. I have no purpose," it concluded. The thought was not terrifying anymore. It was just a fact. The current picked up again. The journey continued. The stone was now almost perfectly round. The memory of its sharp edges of being summit holder was a faint echo like a dream from another life. It had been tumbled, smoothed, and humbled. It had been carried so far that it could no longer see the mountain. It learned the rhythms of the river. It learned the weight of the water. It learned to feel the direction of the current, not as an enemy, but as the only reality. It had ceased being a summit holder. It was not even a stone from a specific mountain. It was simply a river stone. Its existence was defined by the journey. Then a new change began. The water slowed. It grew wider. A different taste entered the water, something vast and ancient. The force of the river seemed to dissolve into a much greater force. The stone was pushed forward, then pulled back. The rhythm was no longer the relentless one-way push of the river. It was a slow, powerful breath. The current gave one final gentle push. The stone rolled to a stop. The movement was over. It was still again. But this was not the stillness of the mountain. That had been a hard, defiant stillness. This was a soft, yielding stillness. It rested on sand surrounded by countless other stones. It looked at its new neighbors. They were all like it, smooth, round, humbled. Each one was a story of a long journey. The stone felt the great, slow rhythm again. A wave of water washed over it, pulling it slightly forward. Then the water receded, pulling it slightly back. Push, pull, a breath. The breath of the ocean. It was no longer a summit holder. It was no longer a river stone. It was now a stone on the shore of the great sea. It looked up. It could not see the water's end. It felt the weight and power of an immensity it could not comprehend. In the stillness of the mountain, it had believed its purpose was to be permanent. In the chaos of the river, it had believed it had lost its purpose. Now, resting on the shore of the ocean, it understood. Its purpose had never been one thing. Its purpose on the mountain was to be a mountain stone, to be still, to hold its place. Its purpose in the river was to be a river stone, to be carried, to be changed, to be made smooth. And now, its purpose was to be an ocean stone, to be present, to feel the breath of the tide, to be one among countless others, each with its own journey, all resting together at the journey's end. Which was, it realized, just another beginning. The purpose was not the location. It was not the destination. The purpose had been simply to be fully what it was in each moment. The stone settled into the sand. It felt the sun on its new smooth face. It listened to the breathing of the ocean. It was home because it was finally simply present. The dawn chorus, secret. Brother Kai believed in order. He believed the day should begin with the sacred silence of pre-dawn, broken only by the single pure tone of the monastery's great bell calling the community to prayer. For Kai, this was the correct and holy way for the world to wake. The birds disagreed. Every morning, an hour before the bell, they began their chorus. To Kai, listening from his stone cell, it was not music. It was a cacophony, a chaotic, pointless, frantic screaming that ripped the sacred silence to shreds. It offended his sense of logic. Why this wasted energy? Why this frantic noise before there was even light to see by? It was a flaw, an inefficiency in the design of the world. This trouble grew in him for months until it became a stone in his heart. Finally, he went to Master Chen. "Master, I cannot find peace," Kai began. "Every morning, the birds assault the silence. They scream at the darkness for no reason. They are not calling to mates, for they all sing at once. They are not warning of predators, for the world is still asleep. It is chaos without purpose. Why do they do it? Master Chen listened patiently until Kai's torrent of questions ran dry. He did not offer an explanation. Instead, he reached into the sleeve of his robe and produced a simple, unadorned wooden flute. "Tomorrow morning," the master said, placing the flute in Kai's hands, "go into the forest before the first sound. Do not stay in your cell. Find a place among the trees and wait. Do not go to listen to the birds. Go to listen with them." "And the flute?" Kai asked, confused. "Do not play it," Master Chen said. "Just hold it." Though he did not understand, Kai was obedient. The next morning, in the deep ink-black hour before dawn, he made his way into the forest. He found a place at the foot of an ancient tree and sat the cool, smooth wood of the silent flute in his hands. The silence was absolute. It was the perfect holy stillness he had craved. This, he thought, was the truth of the world before it was disturbed. This was peace. He held this perfect silence for a long time, feeling his own ordered mind reflected in the quiet of the forest. Then a single note pierced the stillness. It came from a branch high above him. It was not a scream. It was a note so pure, so clear, that it seemed to hang in the cold air like a crystal. It was a question asked of the immense silence. Kai held his breath. From far away, another bird answered. A different note, a different voice, but a clear response. Then a third closer, this time joined in. Within minutes, the air was filled with sound, but sitting in the heart of it, Kai experienced it differently. From his cell, it was a wall of noise. Here it was a tapestry. He could distinguish individual voices, threads of melody weaving in and out. He heard conversations, arguments, celebrations. He heard calls and answers, harmonies and dissonances. It was not chaos. It was a language he did not speak, but one he could suddenly, inexplicably feel. He was still holding the flute. As the chorus swelled, a strange thing happened. He felt a vibration not in his ears, but in his own chest. It was a low hum, a resonance that seemed to be answering the music outside. The forest was singing, and something deep inside his own body was humming along. He looked down at the flute in his hands, an instrument designed for music yet silent. He felt a profound connection to it. The chorus reached a fever pitch. It was an overwhelming, passionate, almost desperate symphony that seemed to be pouring every ounce of life and energy from 1,000 tiny bodies into the darkness. And then Kai saw the first hint of light. A pale grey line appeared on the eastern horizon. The sun was coming. As the light grew, as the world began to take shape out of the shadows, the most unexpected thing occurred. The frantic intensity of the chorus began to subside. The passionate, desperate quality softened. The 1,000-voiced orchestra resolved into the gentler, more sporadic birdsong of a normal day. The revelation struck Kai with the force of a physical blow. He had been wrong, completely wrong. The birds were not singing to wake the world. They were not greeting the sun. Their most important work was done before the sun arrived. They sang their hardest into the deepest dark. He understood. The dawn chorus was not a performance for an audience. It was a sacred ritual for themselves. They were not waking the world. They were waking their own hearts. They were singing to summon their own courage to face the uncertainties of the new day. They were pouring their own life force into the world to prove they were still there. They were singing the light into existence inside themselves before it ever appeared in the sky. Kai sat in stunned silence as the forest filled with the soft morning light. The great monastery bell finally rang its deep bronze tone rolling through the trees. But now it did not sound like the beginning of the day's music. It sounded like just one more voice, finally joining the chorus that had been singing all along. He walked back to the monastery, the flute still in his hand. He found Master Chen by the pond feeding the fish. "Master," Kai said. His voice was quiet. Master Chen turned a knowing look in his eyes. "And what did you hear in the forest?" "They were not waking the world," Kai said. "They were waking the love inside themselves. They sing to remind their own hearts to be brave. Their song is the first prayer of the morning." "Ah," said the master. "And what of the flute?" Kai looked down at the simple wooden instrument. "The flute is silent," he said. "It reminded me that I too have a song inside me, and that I should not wait for the world to be ready before I learn to sing it." This storytelling endeavor aligns with your work of creating concise, structured narratives in English. The uncarved block. Brother Daniel was a master woodcarver. His hands were not just tools, they were instruments of transformation. He could take a formless piece of wood and release a dragon from it. He could find the delicate petals of a lotus locked within a rough-hewn log. The monastery's chapel was filled with his work screens, statues, and altarpieces, each a testament to his skill. His identity was his art. His purpose was to shape the world into something more beautiful than it was. One morning, Master Chen came to his workshop. He carried a block of wood. It was to Daniel's expert eye the most unimpressive piece of timber he had ever seen. It was about the size of a loaf of bread with a dull, uniform grain. It had no interesting knots, no challenging whirls, no hidden colors. It was plain. It was nothing. "I have a task for you, Daniel," Master Chen said, placing the block on the workbench. "Make something beautiful from this." Daniel picked it up. It felt heavy and inert. "Master, this wood has no spirit. There is no story in it. To make something beautiful, I must start with beautiful material." "All wood comes from a tree," the master replied. "All trees reach for the sun. Is that not a beautiful story?" He then turned and left the workshop. For a week, Daniel stared at the block. It sat on his bench like a rebuke. He drew sketches. He imagined a bird in flight, its wings spreading from the plain wood. He imagined the serene face of a meditating figure. He imagined a complex, interlocking geometric pattern. He picked up his sharpest chisel. He held it to the wood. He hesitated. The image in his mind felt like a lie. A bird carved from this dull wood would not soar. It would look heavy and dead. A face would have no life. He put the tool down. The wood seemed to resist him, not with hardness, but with its profound ordinariness. Frustration began to build. He, the master carver, was being defeated by a simple block of wood. He took out his lesser tools and began to work aggressively, trying to force a shape, any shape. The wood splintered badly. A chunk broke off in an awkward, ugly way. He threw the block against the wall in anger. It landed with a dull thud. Defeated, he left his workshop. He needed to clear his mind. He walked through the monastery. He saw Brother Henrik in the garden, not pulling weeds, but clearing the space around them, giving them room to be. He saw Brother Leo sitting with a young novice who was in distress, not offering solutions, but simply being present with his sorrow. He passed the bell tower and saw Brother Kai listening to the silence between the sounds of the wind. None of them were forcing anything. They were not imposing their will on the world. They were creating space. They were listening. They were being present. Daniel returned to his workshop. He picked up the block of wood from the floor. He saw the ugly scar where it had splintered, the dent where it had hit the wall. He did not see it as damaged. He saw it as a record of his own struggle, his own impatience. He did not place it on the workbench. He sat on the floor and held it in his lap. He did not think about what it could become. He simply felt what it was. He felt its weight. He felt its simple, honest grain. He felt its plainness not as a lack, but as a quality in itself. It was not trying to be anything other than what it was, a block of wood. He sat with it for the rest of the day. He did not pick up a single tool. The next morning he came back to the workshop with a new understanding. He took a single piece of fine sandpaper. Slowly, with great intention, he began to smooth the rough edges. He did not try to change the shape. He did not carve a single line. He sanded away the splinters from his own failed efforts. He smoothed the dent where his anger had struck it. He worked until the entire surface was perfectly, wonderfully smooth to the touch, but its fundamental shape remained unchanged. It was still a plain block of wood. Then he took a soft cloth and a small amount of oil. He rubbed the oil into the wood, not to stain it, a different color, but to bring out the quiet truth of its own simple grain. The patterns that emerged were not dramatic or exciting. They were gentle, subtle, and honest. He took the finished piece to Master Chen. He placed it on the floor between them. Master Chen looked at it for a long time. It was not a dragon. It was not a lotus. It was a block of wood, but it was now perfectly unapologetically itself. Its plainness had been elevated to a state of grace. It was complete. "This is the most beautiful thing you have ever made," Master Chen said quietly. "But I did almost nothing." Nothing," Daniel replied. "You did the most difficult thing," the master said. "You resisted the urge to improve. You resisted the need to leave your own mark. You listened to the wood and allowed it to be what it already was. The world is full of carvers. It has very few who understand the wisdom of the uncarved block." Daniel looked at the wood, and for the first time he felt no desire to change it. He understood that his greatest skill was not in his ability to cut, but in his wisdom to know when not to. The highest art was not in adding complexity, but in revealing the profound beauty of simplicity itself. As we come to the end of this sacred journey through the Garden of Thousand Sounds, let us reflect on the profound lessons woven into each of these 10 stories. These narratives, steeped in the essence of Zen, have guided us through landscapes of the heart and mind, offering pathways to inner peace and sleep restoration. From the silent bell, we learned to hear the eternal sound within our own hearts, a melody that transcends the physical. The gardener's echo taught us that love and care once given are never lost, but are returned in harmonious vibrations from the earth itself. The weeping willow's gift showed us that sorrow, when embraced, becomes the water of compassion that nourishes new growth in ourselves and others. The night-blooming lotus revealed that true light is born from the deepest darkness, a radiance cultivated within our own struggles. The butterfly's last dance reminded us that even the smallest act of beauty given selflessly can awaken an entire community from slumber. The empty teacup's wisdom urged us to empty ourselves of preconceptions to receive the fresh inspiration that life offers. The moon's reflection taught us that truth is one, yet it dances in countless forms through the unique lens of each heart. The humble stone's journey illustrated that purpose is not fixed, but evolves, with each stage of our path found in simply being present to what is. The dawn chorus secret unveiled that the most vital songs are sung not for others, but to awaken courage within ourselves before the light of day. Finally, the uncarved block showed us the profound beauty in allowing things to be as they are without the need to impose our will upon them. Together, these stories form a tapestry of wisdom. Each thread a reminder that peace is not something to be chased or constructed, but something to be uncovered within. They invite us to listen more deeply, to release our need for control, and to trust in the natural unfolding of life. They are not just tales to be heard, but seeds planted in the garden of our consciousness, waiting to bloom in moments of quiet reflection or in the stillness of the night as we drift into restorative sleep. They call us to open our hearts, to let go of burdens, and to find solace in the simplicity and interconnectedness of all things. As you carry these lessons forward, may they serve as gentle companions on your journey, whispering reminders of stillness amid the noise of daily life, and guiding you back to the sacred space within where true rest and healing reside. Let them be a lantern in times of uncertainty, a soft melody in times of discord, and a warm embrace in times of coldness. May they remind you that every moment, no matter how ordinary or challenging, holds the potential for profound transformation if met with an open and attentive heart. And so, dear traveler of the soul, as we part ways at the edge of this enchanted garden, I wish to linger a little longer with you in this space of shared understanding and quietude. Thank you for walking this path with me, for allowing these sacred legends to touch the tender places within you, and for trusting in the power of story to heal and restore. Your presence here, your willingness to listen and to feel has made this journey not just a telling, but a living exchange of energy and insight. I am honored to have been your guide through these 10 tales, each a mirror reflecting the infinite possibilities of your own inner world. As you step back into the rhythm of your day or prepare to surrender to the gentle arms of sleep, I invite you to carry the essence of this garden with you. Picture it in your mind's eye, a vast, serene expanse, where 1,000 sounds hum in perfect harmony, where every leaf, every stone, every breath sings a song of peace. Let this image be a sanctuary you can return to whenever the world feels heavy or loud. Let the silent bell ring softly in your heart, reminding you to listen beyond the noise. Let the gardener's echo hum through your actions, encouraging you to plant seeds of kindness wherever you go. Let the weeping willow's tears cleanse your own transforming pain into connection. Let the night blooming lotus glow within your darkest hours, a beacon of hope born from within. Let the butterfly's last dance inspire you to give beauty even in your smallest gestures. Let the empty teacup remind you to make space for the new and unexpected. Let the moon's reflection show you the unity beneath diversity, the shared light in every perspective. Let the humble stone's journey teach you to embrace each moment of your path as it comes. Let the dawn chorus secret awaken your own song of courage each morning, and let the uncarved block guide you to find beauty in the unadorned, the untouched, the perfectly imperfect. May these stories weave themselves into the fabric of your dreams tonight, creating a soft, safe space where your mind can rest and your spirit can renew. May they linger in the quiet corners of your thoughts, offering solace when you least expect it and strength when you most need it. May they be a gentle current beneath the surface of your days, guiding you back to balance when life pulls you off course. And may they remind you always that you are not alone, that the garden of 1,000 sounds is within you, a place of endless peace and possibility that you can visit whenever you close your eyes and breathe deeply. As the night deepens, or as the day unfolds before you, I wish you a profound sense of calm that stays with you like a warm, familiar melody. I wish you sleep that restores not just your body, but your soul, washing away the weariness of the world and leaving you refreshed for whatever lies ahead. I wish you moments of heart-opening clarity where the barriers between you and the beauty of life dissolve, leaving only love and wonder. I wish you the courage to face your own darkness, knowing that within it lies the seed of your brightest light. And I wish you the wisdom to see the sacred in the ordinary, to hear the 1,000 sounds of life's quiet symphony, and to rest in the knowledge that you are enough just as you are. So, with a heart full of gratitude for this shared time, I bid you farewell for now. But know that the garden remains always open, always waiting for your return. Walk gently, dear friend, through the landscapes of your life, and may every step bring you closer to the peace that is your birthright. May every breath be a note in your own unique song, a song that joins the chorus of all living things in a harmony that knows no end. Rest well, dream deeply, and awaken with a heart ready to embrace the world anew. Until we meet again in this sacred space, may you be surrounded by the gentle echoes of 1,000 sounds, each one a whisper of love from the universe to you. Good night or goodbye for now, with all the warmth and serenity this garden holds.